Good morning. Right. So we will continue from where we have um, left last time. Right. One minute. Right. So we will continue from where we have left last time. Right. So before that, we try to just to summarize what we have learned last week. Right now, some of the slide is not there, but don't worry of that. Right. So last week we started the new area for the next 5 to 6 classes. So I'm going to conduct with you, not Dr. Sridharan, and he will be back again for one class, or maybe with Mrs. Vivek Fernando also come little later on after I finish my session. So what we have discussed last time, we discussed about the industry. So the how what are the number of what is a bank in financial industry, type of banks, and how many banks, how many financial institutions, who are the players in the markets, the asset base, and things like that. We discuss in great length, right? Just to get an understand, right? Then we discuss when we start our financial strategic planning. We discuss because the strategy planning uh, play an important roles in business management, and in order to face these the VUCA environment, that is volatile, uncertain, ambiguous business environment. So we need to prepare a strategy plan, and it is compulsory by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, right? So every organization, every financial institutions face three central question in thinking strategically about their businesses, right? So what are the three areas, the three important questions they're going to face? For the first one is, where are we now? Right, that's the first one. The second question, where do we want to be? So now, say for an example, your present bank or your financial institution, your market share is presently is 5%. So where do we want to be? We want to improve your market share by 5 to 7 or 8%. So that is your future expectation. And the third question, you are having know what is our present position, where we want to go, and the third important thing is how do we get there. That's the three fundamental questions every finance manager or any manager facing today. Even for you take for the branch, what is your branch position today in terms of deposits, in terms of credit portfolio, in terms of profit? Okay, what your branch going to be for next 3 years, right? So how to improve your profits, how to improve your lending rate portfolio, how to improve your deposit, like that. So then what are the strategies you are using to achieve your destination? So that is how do we get there. So strategic plan for your organization, try to find out solution for these central question. That is what we have uh, discuss, right? And then for after that we discuss what is vision, right? We discuss what is vision, and vision we discuss about giving your long term. In fact, we before that we discussed the four aspects of management strategy planning, and we discuss is an interdisciplinary external focuses and things like that. And then we discuss what are the benefits of strategy planning, and then we discuss the structure of the uh, strategic plan, right? And then now going back to the first one, so what is here? So we are trying to discuss this part, where do we want to be, right? That is what. So vision is the first part of our strategic plan, and then we discussed last time what is vision, and why it is important, and what are its key components, right? So we took some Sri Lankan bank's example, your own bank example. What are your visions, right? And the next component of the where you want to be in your strategy plan, the next one is from vision to mission, right? So then we discuss what is mission, right, and the purpose of your business, right? And then we discuss what are the component of a mission statement, like customers, products, things like that. And then we discuss what are the basically purposes and some objectives and some advantages, right? And then we discuss along with the vision missions. Now today, a lot of organizations are preparing corporate values. So what you call value statement. So what you mean by a value give you or basically give some sort of a directions to your organization. That means organization, uh, how it influence your organization business processes, right? That is corporate values. So we discuss some of the corporate values by your own banks. Okay, and then we move into discuss from mission to corporate goals, right? Now, what is goals basically? Once you develop for organization, once you develop the vision, then you develop the mission, and then organization under strategy plan, you are trying to develop goals, right? Goal is basically clarify organizational domain. So that means what are you expecting in the long term by your organization, right? So goal is usually a long term thing. It's clarifying uh, organization domain. So what are the key areas? What are the things you're going to achieve in the long term, right? And also remember the goals provide frame of references. Now within framework only you're working. So we discuss the goals as well last time. Then we move into from goals to objectives, right? So next point is objectives. So objective is more a medium to short term, right? More specific nature uh, as far as the goals and objectives are concerned. So then objective is more or less goal is a long term, and then goal also very broad term and also not specific, not smart like objectives, uh, and also it can be of quantifiable as well as non-quantifiable, but the goals are basically are quantifiable, right? Very specific, right? Intent to achieve very short term to medium terms, basically a short term, right? So that is the difference between goals and objectives. Then under that we discuss further the famous acronym of used by setting objective is called SMART, right? So we discuss what is SMART. SMART means specific, and then it should be measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So we discuss these things with example. Okay, right. So that is where we have stopped last time. Okay, that is where we have stopped last time. So today we continue from the balance to number 1, right, and further explain about the objectives, right? Okay, now there's something in your handout. It is not just mentioned objective performs number of functions. What are the functions objective perform? First one you can write under that. First point is planning. First point is planning. So top of that you can write planning is what, and objectives provide framework for planning, right? And the first point is objective performs number of functions. Okay, now number of functions mean like this. Let's see, P, planning. P is planning, right? Okay, planning means provide framework. Provide framework for planning, right? Okay, that's the first one. P, planning. Okay, then second one is what you call responsibility. So objective perform as a function, the responsibility. What is responsibility mean? So objectives tells your people who is going to take the manage this division. So areas of responsibility, right? So objectives, this also facilitate the responsibility, allocating who is going to do this job, right? Okay. Then third one is I. I mean integration. I mean integration. You know, as an organization, you cannot work alone, so you have to get the support from other people. So it is also we coordinate the activities, right? Coordinate, right? Coordinate. So objective facilitate to coordinate to integrate your activities. Then M, what is M? M means motivations, right? It is a motivation. M is motivation. Now, why I say it is a motivation? Objective is a motivation because if you put some challenging objective for your organization, you are trying to achieve that. You are trying to motivate to achieve your objective. Once you achieve your objective, you are motivated. So therefore, objective can be performed as a motivation function. Then next one is, what is that? Evaluation. E means evaluation, right? Okay. So how you know whether we have achieved our objective or not? So say for an example, so we set an objective achieving, say for example, 2% growth in market share, 2% growth. Now we want to see whether we have achieved or not, right? Whether we have achieved 2%. So therefore, objective can be used for evaluation purposes. If you take all these letters together, so you can use the abbreviations called, can you remember this? Right. This is the board. So I forget to put into the presenting mode, right? Okay, now, so objectives from number of functions. Now, first one is P. P is planning. Now, planning means the objective provide planning, right? And then R is responsibility. R is responsibility because objectives tell who is going to take the responsibility, who is going to achieve this target or whatever. Then I mean integration. I mean integrations. That means, you know, it gives you a integrated or coordinated function. Then M is motivation. As I told you, motivations mean basically, so if you set a good challenging objective, so you try to achieve that target. So thereby you are trying to motivate. And the E mean evaluations. And so evaluation means we are going to evaluate based on your objective, what you have said. So if you really look at it, all these things, you can use the acronym called PRIME. If you want to remember this very simple thing, what is that? You have to remember prime land. You know, there's a famous property business guys. If you use the word prime, so prime will explain you what are the objectives, functions, right? Now, still, this question is not asked any up to now. So they, about the objective, they have never asked questions. Now this time they can ask questions, right? What do you mean by objective? Why objective? Call him as SMART, right? We discuss. And objectives perform number of functions. What are the function objective performing? First one is planning, second one is responsibility, third integration, prime. I is M, motivation, and the last one is evaluation. Okay, so these are the functions performed by objectives. I hope you now understood the concept. Okay, right. Sorry, now we'll back again the theory part. Okay, right. So now you know who is this guy, right? And this guy, it is not in the hand of, but don't worry, right? He's one famously called Mr. Peter Drucker. Now he supposed to be a father of modern management. Now, there must be a father of old management also. No? If you say father of modern management, there is a father of old management. No? Now, who is father of management? The father of management is called Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol, some of you may heard about him. Some of the management principles introduced by Mr. Henry Fayol still we are using. For an example, hierarchy, chain of commands, all things what Mr. Henry Fayol was introduced. But recently, you see the time 1990 for 2005, now he's no more there. So Peter Drucker also introduced new concept to the management. So under him, he has introduced, if an financial organization for that matter, for any organization, if you want to set objective for your organization, set corporate objectives for your organization, he said you can consider some key areas. That is how we call key results areas. That is why it's called key results areas. One of the way you can set an objective for your organization, market standing. Market standing means market share. What is your present market share? Second criteria area you can set for your corporate objective, innovation. Right? Some banks now say Sampath, for example, they always come up with innovative banking. So that is their objective. So always come up with something new. Third one, improve the productivity, right? And fourth one, maximum utilization of resourcing. Then profitability, employee development, develop your entire development, employee, have a better relationship with your stakeholders, and social responsibility. So these are the some of the um, uh, 8 areas. Now see, 8 areas where you can set corporate objective for your organization. Right now, if you really look at it, your present objectives, corporate objective, right, and these are the areas you can think to set your objective, right? Those are we call corporate objectives. Clear? Now, corporate objective mean for the broader level or top level objective. So, Peter Drucker has identified if you want to set corporate objective for your organization, these are the key areas can think about. Okay, right. Now let's look at it. So we have hierarchy of objectives also, right? The corporate level, which I told you earlier, is the corporate objectives, right? The top level. Then the second level. So for example, we call a tactical objective. That is a functional level, right? To increase for example, to increase the sales of a product X. Now, say for example, for one lending category or maybe deposits like that. One way, that's a tactical objectives. And operational objectives mean so down level to increase the awareness of the product X. Now, if you want to increase the product X by 20%, but down level we need to create awareness. So, depend on the level of your organization, objectives also can be varied, right? But we usually in our strategic planning, we usually set corporate objectives, right? Just for you to understand, right? Now we have discussed in a greater length objectives. Okay. Suppose if the examiner asks you questions like that. Okay, can you write down this question, please? So we'll see, right? So you write down this question, right? Just write down this question. Okay. What is the difference between goals and objectives? What is the difference between goals and objectives, right? You can write one side is goals, one side you can put objectives. Okay, now can you write? I'll just give you 2-3 minutes. Think what we have learned. We learned what is goals, and then we discuss what is objectives, right? Now remember where we are now. So the where you want to be. First one, vision, then mission, right? Values, goals, and objectives. Okay, right. Now so far no question asked like this, right? Okay, then if the examiner asks you, what is the difference between objectives and a goals? You feel both are almost same, no? But there's a difference. So for a layman, for an average person, they may think, oh, both are same. But as a student who are studying the strategic planning, need to know what is the difference between a goal and an objective. Right. First write goal and the next objective. Can anybody just tell me, I know you are not talking, but if you can just tell me one differences between goals and objective. Can anybody unmute your mic, or you can just send a send me a what you call that chat? What's the difference? Right? That's a different. That's a disadvantage of having online. No, otherwise I can direct you somebody and ask. Okay, can I do that? Huh? Okay. Arush, Basita, can you just tell me one difference between goal and an objective? Basita, Jilan, Gayomi, so you are there, right? Krishnan. So what is the difference between one difference between objectives and a goal? Can anybody tell?
Objective.
Not clear with that.
Hello.
Right, you.
Goals are the future we need to achieve. Objectives are the we want to monitor and keep maintain and daily basis.
Right. Okay. 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 So thank you very much. I mean, it is not clear, but you are trying to give some answers. No, that's very much appreciated. Right. Now let's look at it. What is the difference? First of all, now we'll take the goal side. Right. Goals are expressed as to become, intended to reach. Right. Become. The word become, intended to reach. But whereas the objective intended to reach something, that means attain, become, attain. That's the first difference, right? So goals mean express organization intend to reach a particular position, right? But as far as the objective, something to attain, right? Very specific in that case. Second difference is, as I discussed, usually goal is long term, but objectives are short term, right? Another difference. Objective short term. Another one, goals may be quantitative as well as qualitative. Quantitative as well as qualitative. But objective basically more or less a quantitative, right? Okay, right, that's another difference. And you, based on the SMART, objectives are very smart. You know what is SMART, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. Very smart. Compared with the goals are less smart, right? Okay, less smart. Right. So if you can put 3 points, it's enough, right? Or 4 points. What is the first one? Become a position, attain something. Second point, long term, short term. Very specific, not specific. So very specific mean objectives, right? Not much specific, goals. And the last one, you can say objectives are basically quantifiable, but goals are usually both quantifiable as well as unquantifiable, qualitative and quantitative. Okay, clear. So that's something extra we learn. Right, now we move into the right, now we move into the next point, policies, right? Policies. So what do you mean by a policy, right? What do you mean by a policy? Now, policy is a general guideline for decision making, right? Policy is basically, we talk about, is a general guideline for decision making. Now, say for an example, I give you a simple example. Government tender procedure. And even if you are a bank having some procedure, government tender procedure. What do you mean by that? There's a way of doing something because there are statements or ground rules. So your organization, within that framework, your organization need to act. You can't go beyond, right? So this is a framework. Within that framework only, you need to do your operation activities, right? When you're developing your strategy plan, so you need to remember what are your organizational policies. Now, say for an example, you have a policy in your organization. You take a decision not to open branches overseas. That's your policy. Now, if you are going to put, right, you're going to open up new branches in Maldives, it is not falling with your policies, right? It is not your framework. Understood? Right. So that is why policies are there. So your strategies has to develop based on your organizational policies. Say for an example, recruitment. Before you take some, if you're having an organizational policy, okay, if you find a, say, AGM, say for an example, your bank is looking to recruit an AGM, Assistant General Manager, for one particular section. Now, what is your policy? Before you recruit from outside, your bank policy, before you're recruiting from outside person to that filling that job, your organization policy is that first you try to find it out person internally to fill that vacancy. If not, only you can go outside, right? So that is your recruitment policy, right? That policy. First you look at it to whom you can promote for AGM post, and if not, only you can go outside. That is your recruitment policy. Likewise, your strategic plan also you need to work out within the policy framework, right? I think you understood. So what do you mean by a policy, right? Okay, so now so we will discuss from T2 today from now onwards, right? T2 parts. Okay. Any things you need to clarify under tube number 1? So just we completed the tube number 1. So we are basically going to I'll give you 3 tubes, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 tubes, cover the entire section, right? Okay, you having with you now the T2. Now place this T2, right? Okay, right. Now, what are the major issues in strategy planning? We discussed where are we now, where are we want to be. It is not your handout, but if you want, just try draw this one if you want to draw, right? First one, where are we now? Okay, right. So what are the three fundamental questions? What is strategy planning try to answer? Where are we now? Then where do want to be, right? Okay. Third one is action plan. How do we get there? Now, at the tube number 1, what we have discussed, the number 2, desired state. Where do we want to be? Under that, we discuss what is value, or what is vision, what is mission, what is values, what is corporate goals, what is corporate objectives, and which framework you need to work all these things. So that is where do we want to be, right? කොහෙද ආයුත්තේ? යනකොට අපි දැනගන්න ඕන තියෙන දේවල් මොනවද? What are the things you need to know? So we need to know our vision, missions, values, right, and goals and objectives. Clear, right? So we through tube number 1, where do we want to be? So we answer to that question. Before you go into the next part or next destination, so desired state, we need to find it out. Where are we now? So you need to find it out. Where are we now? Right? Before you think to go for that particular destination, we need to find it out. Where are we now? What is our organization present position? Right? Now, in tune number 2, we are going to concentrate on where are we now. Right? That is what you call a strategic analysis in technically. Right? So we need to evaluate our position. Like now, suppose we want to find it out my health. So I need to do some analysis in terms of how my blood circulate, my cholesterol level, whether my functions, my all other organs are working very well. So you do some analysis, right? You want to find it out. So, and remember, most businesses will need to constantly evaluate their position because it may be vary from time to time. That is why once you take the full body checkup, maybe 1 month time, maybe another 3 months time, doctor asks you to take another report. No, why? Because you cannot think your body is remain as same. The things are keep on changing. So therefore, businesses will constantly evaluate their position, right? And that is sometimes we technically call a situational analysis, right? Situational analysis. So we are using different techniques to find it out our present situation, your organization present position. So what are the things, right? What are the things we are going to find it out? What are the methods? The two methods are, we call them as internal and external things, right? Where is our business is now? For that, we carried out internal audits and external audits, right? Okay, so now that audit may not the what we normally do, but we call internal audit and external audit, right? Now we are going to look at it, these 2 points from this angle. So let's look at it. What are the internal audits? So what are the things you are going to find it out within your own organization? So we look at the productivity as far as the productivity concerned. Now, internal audit, you may look at it from 3 angles, basically, very broadly. One is called a functional audit, and the second one is a resource audit, and the third one we call them as value chain analysis. So I'm going to explain these techniques, right? Now, internal audits, through internal audits, what are the techniques we are going to use to find it out what is our present position? So for that, we are using, these are internal audits, right? Functional audit, resource audit, value chain analysis. Okay, right. These are the techniques we are using. So let's look at it. All these things, a more or a very broad term. What are the things we are going to use it? What are the things? Right. Okay. For example, as far as the efficiency is concerned, you look at it, the ratio analysis, right? So investment data, right? So what is our return on asset, like that? We are going to look at the financial aspect, whether it is enough, whether it's falling in line with your competitors, whether it's falling in line with your industry, like that. If you look at the cost, so what are the cost? Wastage, unnecessary expenses. We look at it, cost per employee, cost per deposits, like that, right? Cost of capital, all things we are going to look at it through internally. We are trying to compare with us and with our competitors. And then we look at it, labor turnover. What do you mean by the labor turnover? How many employees are leaving the organization in the given period of time? We carried out some customer satisfaction surveys to find it out whether our existing customers are satisfied. We look at it, some complaints, number of complaints we receive for organization. And then we look at it again, our cash flow statement, our deposit trends, skill of our people, our competency, right? What are the things we are good at, like that we are look at it all these things very broadly as far as the internal audit is concerned. Mainly, what are the techniques we use is functional audit. Now, what do you mean by a functional audit? We look at it different areas. What are the functional divisions in your organization? Marketing, then finance, productions or operations, HR, like that. These are functional departments. Okay. Now, what we're trying to do under functional audit, we are trying to find it out. We'll take, for example, now functional audit means find it out about your present positions, about your functions. What are the function organization is having? Say marketing. Then you have a finance. Whether you have HR, then you have operations. Like that, you have a different functional department in your organization. You do audit whether all these functional areas are performing well. Now take for an example, one important thing is the functional area will take as a marketing, right? Now you're going to analyze, you're going to collect all the information about marketing aspect, your product portfolio. Say for an example, whether your pricing is correct, your lending pricings are correct, your deposit pricings are correct. You're going to look at it. Then you're also going to look at it. What is your brand image? Now you see, there are some institutions in Sri Lanka. They will evaluate your brand value, right? You say, so a lot of organizations say we are number one in the brand value. They will value brand value like that. Now you mean the number three. Now you come to four like that, right? So we look at the brand values. That's how we look at it from the marketing point of view, marketing functional areas. And then you look at it from the financial point of view. So whether our profit is enough, what is our cash flow statement, right? So you look at it, those things under functional areas, right? You look at it, those things under functional areas, right? And then we look at it, HR functions, whether are we having a talented, competent employees, right? You look at from the HR, whether are we selected the best people for the organization, right? All things we look at it under HR audit, like that. So cost of operation, the operation people, right? So different functional area in the organization, we'll see whether what is our present position. Are we having enough talented workforce like that? Okay, right. So the next internal audit function or internal audit technique we are using, we call the resource audit. Now, what do you mean by the resource audit? Mean basically whether are we having enough resources to perform our to execute our strategy? Are we having enough money? Right? Now the resource also can we look at it from this angle, right? Okay, so just look at it, right? Resources audit mean, right? We look at it from here. What are the physical resources? Are we having good technology, new technology? So locations is number of branches, whether we have a land and building to our, those are physical resources we look at it. Then you look at it again, the human aspects, whether we have given enough training, whether our people have a competent, whether our people have a knowledge to perform. And another one is from organizational point of view. Structure, goodwill, brand value, as I explained to you earlier, right? So we need to carry out the resource audit in terms of physical resources, in terms of human, in terms of organization, right? Okay, so which I not given to you, but please put down on the internal audit side, right? Internal audit side, the TUTE under TUTE 1, 2, 4th slide, and the 4th slide you can bring that things to your things, right? Okay, so then we moving to the next part is what you call next part I told you. So what is that? We call them as value chain analysis. Now please draw this one under that value chain analysis. That is we'll discuss with Michael Porter, right? No, so the main activities: inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales services. These are main activities, primary activities any organization is constructing. Now, what is comes under inbound logistics? Whether our materials, raw materials, inputs, basically we call inputs. Whether we have a better organization, have a better procurement process, right? And then the next stage is operation. We convert input, we process the inputs into final product. That is what you call outbound logistics, right? The final product. Then you need to market these our product and services, right? And you keep a margin, and then you are selling to the customers. These are main activities. Now, through Michael Porter's value chain analysis, what we are trying to do, we are trying to find it out the main primary activities where my bank is having some problem, whether it is a marketing issue, whether it is our procurement issue, whether it is my inbound logistics, operational issues, like that. For that, we also have some supportive activities like firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, procurement. So this value chain approach, Michael Porter will tells you, so you do some sort of analysis where we have a problem. So find it out. Now, say for an example, we'll take a full body checkup. What you're trying to do, everything you look at it. So then we identify, okay, everything is okay, but you have a sugar. So that means something wrong with your digestive system or something wrong with your hormones, right? Because the hormones are not coming to your system at the correct time, or maybe these hormones are not working, right? So why? Then sugar is going out from the system. That means it is not absorbed to the system. That is because you have some problem with your hormones. Likewise, now you are trying to rectify that part. You take some medicine, right, to avoid such defects. That is value chain analysis. Something similar to that in your organization, you do some analytical part, internal analytical part, to find it out where my organization is having some problem. Clear? Right. So based on that, so we will be, I'm sorry for that, I have not incorporated. So you do some techniques. So what are the 3 audits you do to find it out internally is called functional audit, whether your functional departments are doing well, whether you have enough resources to do that, to execute your strategy you're going to develop, or whether you have a value chain analysis. These are techniques used by you to find it out your internal audit. So the SWOT analysis we are going to discuss a little later on, right? Because the SWOT analysis can be considered as internal as well as external audit, right? So therefore we keep for the time being the SWOT. Then we move into what are the external audits? What are the external things we are going to look at it, right? Now you remember, external audit is basically we are talking about the business environment. So here we discuss internal environment mean internal audit, right? And then we are going to look at it your external audit 2 areas. One area is completely we call them as micro and a macro level. So that means for that, so micro mean the organization within we have in a very close environment. We call micro environment. Like your industry, your customers, your competitors also are living within your internal framework. So who are very close to your organization, we call micro environment, and away from you, so we call macro environment, right? So therefore the external first techniques we are using here to find it out your external environmental factors. So that means what you call the PESTEL factors, right? PESTEL factors. Okay, now let's look at it. What is the objective of a PESTEL analysis, right? The moment questions comes like that, you need to, this a PESTEL is an abbreviation, so it's an acronym. So first you need to explain what is this letters indicate, right? PESTEL mean, P mean political, E mean economic, S means social cultural, T mean technological, E mean environment, L mean analysis, right? PESTEL analysis. So why we need to look at it PESTEL analysis? That is beyond your environment. These are uncontrollable variable. You cannot control. So then if you can't control what you're going to do, you want to live with that. So you want to adjust yourself to changing environmental analysis. So now you're going to find it out. Scanning the environment means first you look at it internally, whether you have enough resources, enough people or whatever to meet these your you identify your present position internally, and externally you're going to analyze the environmental factors. That's called PESTEL, right? Now, so external audits is talking about that, right? The techniques we are using to find it out external audit is called PESTEL analysis. First, the major part is called PESTEL analysis. Like internal audit, what are the areas we are going to use? Can you remember what internal audit? What are the techniques we use? First one, resource audit, functional audit, value chain analysis. Likewise, external audit. So what are the techniques we are going to use? One is PESTEL analysis. One is PESTEL analysis. Right? Now, we want to find it out, right? What are the things keep on changing in the external environment? Right? So, for example, we'll take the political factors. What are political factors? Now, political factors mean so the international relationship you are having. So then the moment you have the international relationship, your bank can do corresponding banking better. Right? So the new rules and regulation, new constitutions now after this government elected last Wednesday, and then they are thinking of changing the constitution. It's a political decision, right? How it impact the our banking sector. So that we need to look at it. So we need to analyze that. Then economic factors. What is the present economic growth of the country? What is the economic growth of the world? Right? What is the inflation rate? What is the exchange rate? What is the foreign exchange rate? And uh, all these factors are contributing to the economy. Why? Because the economy is not doing well, your business is not going to do better. So therefore, we need to find out what is the economic situation. Right now, you know the economic situation now in Sri Lanka. Right. Then what are the social cultural factors? How it impacts Sri Lankan business? Now you see, now in for an example, social cultural factors mean basically demographic factors, your lifestyle factors, like for an example, attitude issues. Now say for example, now wife and a husband both are working. So then they have no time to go to the banks. So then as a banks, what we're trying to do, we have to come up with either open the branches on Saturdays, Sundays, or maybe open till late hours, or maybe come up with more digital solution. Having understood the what is taking place in the environment, so organizations try to come up with new strategies to meet them. Now, say for an example, again I'm going to tell you, your wife and husband both are working, having the children. Now, what to do with the children? Either somebody to have stay at home, but the options you may have you may put them into the daycare center, and then the opportunity creating at the daycare centers, right? You understood now? That is why, because of the social cultural changes, right? You need to understand. Accordingly, we have to come up with new solution. Now, say it again, right? Microwave oven, uh, then washing machine, and takeaway foods. Why those came? Because you don't have a time to cook at home. You don't have a time to wash your clothes. You don't have everything. So then what happened? So people are look at it alternatives. What are the things? They look at it washing machines. They look at it microwave ovens. They look at it takeaway foods. right? These are business opportunities. So banks also try to look at it, all these things. Then you look at it, the T factor, the technological factor, right? Now you look at it, how banks development of technology, how impact the businesses. You know, the bankers are heavy users of technology, the technological aspects, internet banking, digital banking, you know, all things, new machines, cashless, cordless, cordless, uh, contactless, your credit or debit cards, right? So all are development of the technology, mobile applications. So if a banks, if not, right, not support these things, so your bank is going to collapse. So you have to come up with new technology, new strategies to address this. Then you look at the environmental issues, right? So we look at it environments. So when you're granting a loan, now a lot of people are concerned about the environmental things, right? Look after the earth, society. So if you are not going to damage the society, so people are concerned about the society, economical aspect. Then, so we need to look at it when you're granting credit, whether we are issuing credit to the people who are damaging or destroying the environment. So we need to look at it, all these things. And the legal aspects. What are the new rules and regulations? What are the legal aspects, changing laws prevailing in Sri Lanka? Say, for example, Parat execution. Now we have a problem now, Parat execution, right? Why? Because we have difficult to apply Parate now. Because there's a case, latest case given by Srivardhan versus HMB. Right? Those are things we need to look at it. Right? So external analysis or external audits can be done through conducting a conducting a PESTEL analysis. Right? Now you understood what you mean by a PESTEL analysis. Right. Another techniques what we are going to discuss with you, right, is called the SWOT analysis. Called the SWOT analysis. Right now, SWOT can be used for both, right, uh, as an internal analysis as well as external analysis. So you can do a SWOT analysis for your bank. You can SWOT analysis for your country. You can do a SWOT analysis for yourself. What are your what is SWOT? Right? SWOT is like a is if you compare with the your financial statement, SWOT is simply a balance sheet. Financial balance sheet is equal to balance sheet. You get the at any given time. The what is balance sheet is talking about? This is the financial position at any given time. SWOT also tells you this is your present position at the moment. So therefore, a SWOT analysis is a tool, remember, heavily used for strategic planning process. Now, like PESTEL, when you come with the acronym, so you know first, if a question comes, you need to explain, right? For example, right? SWOT analysis, right? Short notes about SWOT analysis. Then, so you need to first, you have to tell what is SWOT and you have to explain what is this, let us talk about, right? Okay, first, what is says, S means strengths. Strengths within your own organization, internal strengths. What are your weaknesses? So there is your organizational internal weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses internal. And what are the O and T? That means, so that explained to you about the opportunities in the market and opportunities you are facing. If you're going to put at it in a more technical words, is talking about what strengths mean. What are you good at when you're compared with your competitors, right? Always look at it. What are your strengths compared with your competitor? What are your good strengths? Now, say for an example. So you have a large network, large branches. That's the strength of that organization. So you are very technologically driven. That is the strength of your organization. You have a talented workforce. That is the strength of your organization. You have everybody knows your brand name. That is your name, brand name. Even though the people are not banked with you, they know what is the name of your bank. So that is the strength. So you have been here for the last 25 years. That is the strength of your organization. Right? So you need to look at it. What are you good at? Compared with your competitor. What is the competitor? Right. Then you look at it, weaknesses. So what are you weak when you're compared with your competitor? You are just introduced to the market. Right? Weaknesses. I don't have a large branch network. We are not technology-driven company, all operational company. Now, so then you don't have a number of customers, less number of customers. Your profitability is less. Those are weaknesses. Now, if you really look at in Sri Lankan banks, you can think, you can analyze. Okay, say for an example, NSB versus Sampat, for example. So what are the strength of Sampat? What are the strength of the NSB? We compare with these two, get an idea, right? Sampat, you have a very much technology, whereas the NSB may be little less compared with the Sampat, less technology. So that's a weakness. If you take about the strength or the strength of the NSB, 100% government guaranteed, and that is the weaknesses of the Sampat as well compare with the safeguarders of the money. Okay, clear, right? Now you have to compare. That is important. When you come up with your strategies, we need to find it out your own strengths as well as your competitors' strength. Right? Well, what are the opportunities? Now, strength and weaknesses within your own organization. So SWOT mean, OT mean, what is opportunities available in the market? Now, I can tell you a good example. So in 2008-9, somewhere in 2008-9, so what happened? So we have not in a position to do businesses in Jaffna, right? Because due to this fight, all things, right? There's no opportunities available in the Jaffna. So once we won the war after 30 years, so we have opportunity to go and open new branches in Jaffna. That's opportunity available in the market, right? So to what extent we have taken these opportunities that is prevailing in the market. Another example. Now think about the COVID-19. So we locked down between March, March, April, May, like that. Right? What is the opportunity we had it? So we can go for digital. There's opportunity. People have no access physically to the branches. If the banks who are having more digital opportunities or internet banking facilities, and that is the opportunity for that organization. And the bank is not having. That is the environmental opportunity. Right? Okay. So what are the threats? What are the threats we are facing by that's also from external? So new banks are going to come up, then new rules and new laws. The central bank is going to change their banking act. New banks is going to come up. They are going to put more taxes. All are threats. So we need to understand, right? The organization face all these threats better. So they are the winners. So what are the strategies you are going to use to combat threats? Right? That is the importance of SWOT analysis, right? So therefore the SWOT analysis, so we give you the snapshot. It's a very snapshot. To give you a snapshot. What is your present position about your organization? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Have you convert your strengths to your weaknesses? or you convert your get advantage of your strength to convert your weaknesses to strengths, like that. So it is important to understand the SWOT. So the SWOT analysis both internal analysis as well as external analysis. Now in today's remember, in today's business world, people are not talking about SWOT analysis. They have a separate name for that. We call corporate appraisal. Right now, if you anybody who's studying CIMA and CMA, so they never talk about the SWOT. Rather than they talking about the SWOT, they're talking about called corporate appraisal. Called corporate appraisal. Like you appraise your individual appraisal, corporate appraisal. So your organization is going to appraise based on SWOT. So now today we are talking about corporate appraisal, right? If the examiner asks you, briefly discuss the advantages and disadvantages is corporate appraisal, then if you don't know what is corporate appraisal, you cannot answer. So what is examiner is expecting? Same thing like SWOT analysis, right? So another name for SWOT analysis we call corporate appraisal, right? If that is CIMA we talk about, if you really look at that today's CIMA books, they talk about corporate appraisal rather than the SWOT analysis. Right? Okay, now let's look at it. So what are the advantages and disadvantages or limitations of SWOT analysis or corporate appraisal? Now, again, the examiner give you some word here, periodical SWOT analysis. So rather than without saying just SWOT analysis, they talk about periodical SWOT analysis. So what do you mean by a periodical SWOT analysis? As I told you, when you go to see the doctor, get your body checkup, what doctor say? They give you another prescription saying that, okay, come again after 3 months, we'll do all these tests again. What do you mean by that? That is periodical body checkup. Likewise, because things can be changed due to environmental changing. Environmental factors are changing. We are living in a VUCA environment, volatile, complex, ambiguous, right? Environment. Everything keep on changing, right? So therefore, organizations need to carry out periodical SWOT analysis or periodical corporate appraisals because keep on changing, right? Now, what are the advantages of SWOT analysis? One thing is its clarity. It talk about opportunities. They talk about advantages, things like that. So it is facilitate for develop your objectives, develop strategies, having understood your weaknesses, strengths, and things like that. And it's the cost. Another advantage of SWOT is the cost involved in the process is time, not money, right? Make it possible new ideas, right? It's a very cost effective in terms of SWOT. It's a very cost effective, but only cost is the time, not any other thing. And also very simple. And everybody can understand. If you don't want to have technical jargon, technical theories, technical know-how to know what is SWOT, very simple things. So these are some of the advantages of SWOT analysis, right? And what are the disadvantages of SWOT analysis, if it is a case? So simplicity also would become a disadvantage. Why? Because too simple also people are going to recognize, no? And that also become a disadvantage, right? So it is not critically analyzed if it is very simple. And suppose if you SWOT analysis will give you some information. It won't give you a detailed analysis. Now say for example, some weakness. Why that? So for that you need to further analyze. For further research is required. Right? SWOT analysis will tell you some problem. So why it's happened? So for that, you need to go for more research. So that's another weaknesses, right? And SWOT analysis not identify the priority, right? Remember, SWOT analysis not identify the priority, right? Remember that, right? That's a limitation of that. You can write under the SWOT analysis some disadvantages. Under, you can say limitation is priority, right? Priority is not. You don't know which one you need to pay more attention, right? That's a major disadvantages of SWOT analysis is what you call priority. Okay, right. Clear? So now what are the techniques we use? Because PESTEL analysis will facilitate SWOT analysis. Now here we discussed earlier, right? Because outcome of a PESTEL analysis can then use to populate the opportunities that's in a SWOT analysis, right? So you see, so what we have done earlier, the PESTEL analysis, external factors can be used as opportunities and threats. So that means some of the outcomes from the PESTEL can be used by the SWOT analysis, right? Sometimes the examiner can ask from you, what is the difference between PESTEL analysis and a SWOT analysis? Right now, you know, okay, right now, right, when you, I try to explain you next time, right? So what is the difference between PESTEL analysis and SWOT analysis? What is the relationship between these two? If the examiner asks you that. Okay, first one you can say PESTEL analysis versus SWOT analysis. What is the difference? What is the difference? PESTEL analysis versus SWOT analysis. PESTEL analysis purely talk about uncontrollable variable where you cannot control yourself, right? Beyond your control. If a question comes like that, what is the first point you are going to do? What is PESTEL? You have to stand for peace. Any questions comes like some with acronyms, remember. So first you have to explain what is P, what is E, what is S, what is T, what is EN. And SWOT, you need to explain what is S, what is W, what is O, that is T. So then you get, say, 5 marks, 1 mark for that. Right. Then you can use it. Okay. What is PESTEL analysis used? PESTEL analysis is used for basically identify the macro environmental factors. Macro environmental factors. Right? Macro environmental factors. Where the SWOT, both macro and micro. Why? Your own organization. Right? Macro and micro factors. Clear? Third difference. What is the major third difference? Purely uncontrollable. Why? You cannot control PESTEL factors, no? But SWOT analysis you can control, because why? There are some strengths, weaknesses your organizations can control. So therefore, SWOT analysis controllable as well as uncontrollable. Next point. PESTEL analysis can be used to facilitate to develop SWOT analysis. That's a relationship. PESTEL analysis facilitate to develop SWOT analysis. Right now, this is the way the examiner can ask questions. Right now, use your brain in that sense. Now we understood, no? What is the difference between PESTEL analysis and a SWOT analysis? What is the relationship between these two? Okay, right. So we have done now SWOT and PESTEL. Okay. Any questions up to now? If you have any problem, please just ask from any question. Right? So I hope you cleared now. Right? What are the difference between SWOT and PESTEL? We earlier discussed what is the difference between goal and objectives. Right? And remember, So the strategy plan, whatever the stage you are now, is very important, because the moment you become a top guy, even for mid-level manager, so this knowledge is important, right? Even you become a manager of a branch or at the head office or AGM, whoever, so strategy planning is important. That is why the central bank make it, every bank must prepare strategy plan. Okay, that is why make it compulsory. Okay, I hope you understood the stuff. Right. Okay, clear? Right. Now we move into any, are there any questions, please? I think my other classes, when I'm lecturing singular, so there are a lot of students, I'm doing the singular subject, FIM singular also in the afternoon from 1 to 3. So there were a lot of participants, a lot of actively involved. I know you are not much like that, but try to be actively involved with me. So if you're not understood, please ask me, or otherwise you can send me a chat message, and I will try to explain it again, right? So I'll be here to explain to you. Otherwise I can just deliver. I can see your faces, I can see only your photo, but some are not having the photo even, right? But if at the classroom, I can see you, I can, whether you understood or not. Here I can't see, right? uh, so I know your problems. You cannot concentrate for your computer or mobile phone for the entire day. I know the pros and cons of this method, but one important thing is, so this is silent white. Anybody can freely enter into this and learn something, right? But if you come to class, only a limited people are coming. That's the advantage, right? Take this opportunity, take this advantage, try to learn something, especially if you're a bank, right? And mind you, it's a free of charge, so it's a very good thing the IBSL is doing for you all. Try to get the maximum out of this. Okay, so we are discussing a lot of practical issues here, right? Okay, so I hope you try to get on, I mean, involved with me. If you have anything, just ask questions, right? Okay, going back again to the class, right? Now, the next one, what we are going to discuss, another important analysis. Another important analysis we call Michael Porter's 5 forces analysis. And this is very important. So you may learn in credit management, you may learn in other areas as well. So what are Michael Porter's 5 forces? Now, if you really look at it, now develop, this is the Michael Porter 5 forces developed by the professor Michael Porter. Is the only living guy. Still he is living, right? Michael Porter is living in America. He still is a live person, right? Okay. And then now what is they talk about? They talk about within the competitive environment, what is your organization? How your organization faring? How you're doing your businesses, right? And so therefore, we try to access the industry competitive environment within which your organization is positioning, right? Incredibly useful in determining your present bank's positioning and evaluating your strategy within your competitor broad environment, right? So what do you mean by competitive advantage or competitive edge? Is what do you mean by a competitive edge? What is something is not your competitor is not having, right? For a girl, we say long hair. That is competitive advantage for that girl. Why? Majority of the women are not having the long hair. That is a competitive advantage. Then that girl must use that hair. So that's a special characteristics to attract more benefit from the environment. Okay, right. Now let's look at it. This this is the guy, right? This is the guy called Porter, Michael Porter. Now I'll just try to explain to you this. Try to explain to you this concept. Right. Now, say for an example, Take your bag. Take your bag. For example, I will look at it this Michael Porter's five forces strategy in a different way. Now look at it. Take your bag. Now take, if you are, suppose you are a, suppose you are working in a bag, say Sampan, or you are maybe working in a HNB, whatever the bag, you just try to apply your bag into this under Michael Porter's five forces strategy. Right? Okay. Now, for better understanding, before you put in your bag, take mobile company. Then you will understand bank later on. First, you take your mobile company. Right. Okay. Example. We'll take Airtel, or we take Dialog for that matter. Now you're working in the Dialog company. So you was asked to analyze your company, that is Dialog, based on Michael Porter's five forces. Right. Now what to do? Now you need to understand what are these Michael Porter's five forces. Michael Porter said there are five forces which impact your business. Developing your strategy, these are the areas. Okay, first point he said, rivalry among existing firms. So you need to look at it, your own competitors, like for Dialog, for example, who are rivals? Mobitel, Hutch, right? Airtel. Those are rivals, right? So those are the companies within your organization, right? Then you look at it, threat of new entrants. Are there new mobile companies going to come to Sri Lanka? Say, for an example, Idea in India. The new company is going to come, new entrants to your bank, to your business. US Dialog. New mobile telecommunications company is going to come up. You need to look at it. So then you look at it, the threat of the substitute. So my mobile businesses are impacted from where? Other sources like land phones, other sources, land phones, and internet facilities, chat and things like that. It's impact your business, mobile phone. So threat of substitute, to what extent those your substitute products are threatening you. Then you look at it, bargaining power of buyers. The buyers' power. So they are now demanding. They're asking more features. They're asking more facilities. 5G, 4G, like that. They're asking more facilities. Right? So to what extent your business is impacted by customers? And also then you need to look at it, your suppliers who come up with new phones. You are a mobile company. You are a mobile communication provider. But who provide this phones? Nokia, Apple. So they also come up with new features. Whether your organization can absorb all these new challenging new features they are introducing. So now you have to look at it. Right? Now let's look at the banks. Put some banks here. In Sri Lanka, how many companies, say you are a commercial bank? We had around another 29 commercial banks. Sorry, 20 or 23 or commercial banks. Right? Commercial banks. You're facing Sri Lanka. Now say you are as a Sampat, for example. Then you're facing commercial banks. You're facing Ceylon, Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank. Then you have NTB, NDB. My goodness. So you need to compete with them. Then you look at the new entrants. Are there new banks going to come to Sri Lanka? Bank of China already here, but there's a new bank come, say for example, Development Bank of China. Oh, other banks going to come up. So what are the substitutes? So you may come across with other banks like National Savings Bank, other specialized banks, finance companies, like companies like Dialog, fintech companies. My goodness. And share market. So those are threat of substitute, right? Threat of substitute to you. And then you look at customers. Customers are more educated, more techno-savvy, more demanding. So you need to look at it, what type of customers are now. And also you look at it, power of suppliers. Provide now some solution, networking solution. Provide machines like ATM machines, cashless machines, new phones, providing new applications, software applications like that. So you need to look at it all these aspects, right? Now also look at the banks industry point of view. When you're putting for credit, it will look at it a different, right? Why people, when you're giving grants, loans to a customer, they look at it. So suppose you are giving loans to, for example, bakery. Say you are trying to give the bakery. So then they look at it, new interest. Anybody can come to the bakery market. So more success, more vulnerable. Any new interest can come, right? Okay, what are the substitutes for bakery products? What are the supplier? Whether they are not giving adequately flour, so customers are demanding. Then you look at it, Michael Porter's granting loan for your business. So you look at it, this Michael Porter's, when you're granting loans to evaluate what are your competitors are, what is your loan, your borrower facing problems of this. Otherwise, we look at it from the bank's from the strategically points of view. When you're designing your strategies, so these are the areas we look at, right? So this is my competitor's position. This is my, when you're developing my strategies, you're going to look at it, right? Okay, right. Now we have learned what we have learned. So first we look at it. Where do we want to be? Under that, what we discuss. We discuss what is vision, what is mission, what is goal, what are objectives, what are values, all these things we discuss. And then we discuss today, where are we now? What is my present position? For that, what are the techniques we use? We use internal audit and external audit. For that, what are the techniques we use? We did a resource audit, we did a functional audit, and we do a what? Value chain analysis. Why? To find it out my present own organization's positions. Supported with SWOT. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Right? That's the internal part. And we need to look at it in compared with my compared with the external environment, the more macro level, what is my present position? So for that we need to understand, are we meeting the external changes? Are we addressing external changes issues? For that, what techniques we use? We use PESTEL analysis. We use to some extent the SWOT analysis. What analysis we use? And little while ago, we just explained what external environment analysis we call Michael Porter's analysis. Right? So that is how we develop our strategy. Now, first one is okay. We analyze current state. Then we look at it. Where do we want to be? So we discuss. Setting my goals, objectives, having understood my present position. I hope you understood now. Then, having understood where you want to be, where are we now? And now we need to develop an action plan to reach this desired state. So how do we get there? We know this is my present position. I want to be there. Say, for example, my present position is 5% of market share. I want to improve to 7 or 8% next 3 years. I told you the strategy plan is usually prepared for 3 years. 2023, I want to become 8% market share. Okay. Now, we discuss my present position. I know where I want to be. So now problem comes. But how to improve my market share from 5 to 3%? And that is we talking about the strategies. Okay, that is what you call strategies. Right. Now, before I just go into the next session, have you understood up to now? Right? At least you can put me a chat saying yes, no. Right? PESTEL, SWOT, which analysis is better for a... Okay, one question comes. At least, finally, PESTEL, SWOT, which analysis is better for organization? Right. Now, I can't tell you exactly which one is better. So, given the circumstances, both are important. Right? You can't say it. Right? Now, PESTEL, SWOT. Now, what is PESTEL? We talk about Nalisha. No? Nalisha Jiva Jyoti asks question. PESTEL, SWOT, which analysis is better? Now, in that sense, PESTEL, you need to understand, because you as an organizer, suppose your bank can do operation without taking into account all these external factors. No, you can't. So you need to understand what is the present situation in the country, right? What is the present economic conditions, right? Based on that, you have to come up with new solution, new credit products, new deposit rates, right? So SWOT means, so one is internal and external. Can you meet those external changes? Can you get the advantage of available opportunities in the market using your internal strengths? How can you convert your weaknesses to strengths? Right? So therefore, remember, PESTEL, SWOT, you can't say which one better for organization. Both are important. That is why all organizations, when they are developing especially for strategic plan, are conducting both. So both, given the circumstances, both are equally important. But remember, the PESTEL facilitate to develop your SWOT, because some of the things when you're analyzing your PESTEL factors can be used to develop your SWOT. Right? Okay. I hope you understood my questions. So so you can send me like this, you can send the chat, understood, then I understood, I know whether you understood or not, right? If you have any further clarification area, so this is way, right? I think, I don't know whether you are not geared. My other two classes, I am conducting financial clients Singular Financial Institution Management in Singular, and I am conducting financial clients management in IABF. So so I have a better students have a lot of questions. They just put chat, and also if I say you understood, they said yes, yes, or no, oh yes. Right? Okay. So like that, I preferred, I know it's a less number, but I preferred you understood not, that is to say, okay, understood, clear, something like that. Then I can proceed from that point. Otherwise, I don't know whether you understood or not. Right? Please, and this is a very important area. This is good for you when you become a big guy in your bag. You also, you also know something. ඔගොල්ලෝ ඉතින් ලොක්කු හේව යනවනේ ඔය ස්ට්‍රැටජි ප්ලෑන් ගහන්න රට සමහරලාට මේක හෝටල් වලට යනවා වෙන තැන් වලට යනවා. You are not going, no. So but you know what they are talking, no. So you have something by understanding what they are going, what they are doing. So that's the important thing. Okay, right now, so we back again to our note. Right now, I think so. We are now slowly answering the three fundamental questions in strategic planning. You know, where are we now? Where are we want to be? How to be there? So that is the most important factor, right? Developing strategies. For our next couple of weeks, we are specifically allocating our time to develop strategies. Okay, right? I hope you understood now three issues, right? Now we are going to discuss a strategy, right? Strategy means how do we get there? Okay, now strategy means basically how can you achieve it? How can you make use of our resources to go to that destination, to fulfill our stakeholder expectation, right? You know, the stakeholders are having a different expectation, right? Shareholders having earning profits. Employees also need some earning. That is why they are getting better salary, bonuses, and like that. Government as a stakeholder, what they want? Taxes, right? So investors also look at it to invest the money. And customers need what? Best solution. Competitors also look at it, what this guy is doing, right? So remember, strategy is a direction, scope, and organization over the longer term, right? Likewise, we have a different type of strategies. Now, can you remember we discussed different level of strategies, objectives, corporate level, business level, functional level. Likewise, we have strategies also different levels, right? Okay, let's try to understand something, but don't much worried about this because we are going to discuss more detail. So what is corporate objectives? Now corporate strategies mean is a little bit of a longer term. Now say for an example, you're going to take over, you're going to acquire some company, you are going to merge with some company, you're going to enter with strategic alliances, you're going to diversify your entire businesses. It's a corporate strategy, usually taken the decision by the top people, right? That is what we call corporate level strategy. Enter into the new business area, open new branches, spending more money for IT, all are corporate level strategies. So developing corporate policies, all are corporate strategies, right? And then you look at the business level strategies. You try to gain the competitive advantage over competitors. So we are going to discuss all these things, right? Cost leadership strategy, differentiation strategy. So that's a business level strategies. Withdrawal strategy, market penetration strategy, new product strategies. We consider these as a as a business level strategies. Clear? Now, what do you mean by a cost leadership strategy? For an example, right? You can say, my bank only offering the lowest interest rate for your lending. That is cost leadership strategy. No bank can match my lending rates. So differentiation strategy. My services is totally different. So example, you may go to Singapore, Sri Lankan Airlines. You can fly from Singapore Airlines, but you're going to the same destination, no? What's the difference there? That's the differentiation. You provide superb service, the food, the treatments, everything's very difficult. very different, but you're going to the same destination, right? That's the differentiation strategy. And another strategy we call the focus. Only I'm concentrating few customers. Banks also having focus strategies, right? Some people are talking about red carpet customers, 5-year customers, like that. They treat you differently. Not all are giving. And sometimes, so once you think this strategy is not good, you are taking out from this business strategy from the you offer. Or you may be going to penetrate. So we will explain all these things under tune number 3, expansion strategies, right? Okay, then you look at it, the functional strategy, right? Functional strategy is basically you're talking about for your day-to-day works. So how you use your HR, how you use your research and strategy, how you use your marketing. Those are divisional level strategies, right? So therefore strategies can be corporate level, the business level, and functional, just to get an idea. But in your exam, they pay more attention for expansion strategies. So what do you mean by expansion strategies mean? How can you use certain strategies to expand your businesses, grow your businesses, right? So we will discuss all these expansion strategies later on, right? Okay, right. Now, again, I put the same 3 questions. Now, what we have discussed up to now, where are we now? Where do we want to be? How to be get there? So we just discussed only 3, a small part. What is strategy? From where we now, where we want to be, how to be there. That is a strategy. I'll give you some brief introduction to strategy. So for the next 3 or 2 classes, we are going to concentrate on this one. What? Strategies. How to be expand? What are the strategies available for me to go to that destination? In details. What are their characteristics? What are their pros and cons? What are their weaknesses? What problems you are going to face with implementing this strategy against another strategy? What are the type of strategies available? So we are going to discuss in detail. But you got an idea now. What is a strategy? Right? Now we are moving to the last part. Now that is the last part is to what extent we have reached our desired rate. Now we want to find it out. Once you apply your strategy, so you can't just wait. You need to find it out. That is why we have in your banks, you have a review meetings, right? So even for your branch, you have a review meeting, whether you are achieving or not. Find it out solution. If not, what action you are going to take. And that is what you call, to what extent have we reached our desired state, right? And that is what you call the third part is strategy evaluation. So I told you at the first tune we discussed, your definition of strategy planning consists of 3 things. What are the 3 things? Strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and strategy evaluation, right? So strategy formulation means first one, how we are, where we are now, where you want to be, how do we get there, is all our strategy formulation. Once you have done the strategy, we are going to implement it. That is the implementation part. And while you're implementing, you need to find it out whether you are implemented those strategies are achieving desired targets, desired state, or desired result. For that, we need to evaluate. So implementation and evaluation we are going to discuss now as a final part. and strategy we are going to discuss more today. Okay, right, now look at it. Strategy review, evaluation and control. And it is vital. Why? We want to find it out. The strategy what we have developed is give a benefit to the organization. So it is evaluation. It is a well-being, organization well-being, right? And we need to find it out. Is alert the management. What are the problems we are facing when you are trying to implement this strategy? Are we going to change the strategy? Or we are going to withdraw the strategy? What sort of modifications or improvements we need to do? We can do only through strategic evaluation, right? So that is important, right? So what are the things we are going to look at it under strategy evaluation? What are the basic activities you are going to look at it? Three basic activities. So we need to look at it, the strategy what we have decided. So we need to develop strategies. So still we have not done. What is the strategy what we have developed? Whether it's work. And we need to look at it. Expected results versus actual result. So strategy, we want to increase to 5% now, or from 5 to 8%. What is? We look at it, expected to actual. So whether are we going to that direction, 5 to 8, or still come down, 5 to 4. So if it is the case, it's not moving. So we want to modify our strategy. We want to relook at it. We want to change a little bit of our strategy. That is why we need to do a evaluation. Right? You can do evaluation only after your implementation. No? So therefore, that is both are going together. And remember, implementation is difficult than formulation. Right? Okay, let's look at it now. What are the difficulties we are facing with strategy evaluation process? What are the difficulties we are facing with strategy evaluation process? Right? Because one involves increased environmental complexity. Now, so strategy, good strategy, but the strategy has some problem with environmental changes. So therefore, we cannot evaluate properly because of the changing of the environment. And very difficult to predict accuracy. So variables, plans may be a little bit of outdated, domestic and global events, see this impacted. So when you develop last year, 2020, right, we develop a strategy plan to achieve this and this and this. Now suddenly during the March, this pandemic, COVID-19 came. Now whatever. So we never expected. We have developed a good strategy, worked till March. But from March, it's not work. Just because of wrong with the strategy. Because of some unforeseen situation. So then it's very difficult. Now we have to change it. Right? So remember, so therefore difficulties, evaluation is not so easy thing. Right? Okay. Right. Now let's look at it. What are the techniques available with us? Now we discuss techniques, no? To analyze our present position, we use different techniques. Now we are going to use different techniques also to evaluate our performances, right? Our strategic evaluation. Now, one techniques we call balanced scorecard, which was developed by Robert Kaplan and David Norton. So they look at it, the strategy what you have developed, in 4 perspectives. Right? Now, strategy. So we will discuss all these things, right, later on. Right? The strategy. Now, say for an example, we implement merging and acquisition. So I improve my businesses by absorbing or attracting acquisition of another bank. That is how I try to improve my business. Right? Okay, now think on that. So what is the strategy I'm going to use now? Where we are going to discuss future. I want to improve my businesses. Now, say for example, Sri Lanka. NDB, for an example, NDB want to expand the businesses. NDB may look at it, okay, I am going to take over NTB Bank. Okay, so that's a strategy. Expand your business. You can use either merging or acquisition. Either you're going to take over or you are going to jointly work together, combine, consolidate. Now, Sri Lanka Central Bank, now they look at it. Sri Lanka, we have a lot of banks. So they request banks, authorities to consolidate rather than working alone, consolidate. So thereby you are strengthened your financial position, you absorb to the more vulnerable factors, right? Okay. Now, say, having said that, so we use acquisition strategy. Now we want to find it out whether this strategy is work or not to that bank, like NDB. Now NDB say we are going to take over, acquire the NDB bank. Now we want to find it out whether the strategy is successful or not. What we use, what NDBs use. For that, they use balanced scorecard method. So under balanced scorecard method, they look at it 4 perspectives. They look at it the successful of the strategy in 4 areas. One, financial performances. Second, customer knowledge and internal business processes and learning and growth. Right? So we look at it the strategy according to the balanced scorecard method, which is developed by Robert Kaplan and David Norton. So we look at it now. What are the things they're going to look at it? Let's look at it, all these areas. One, first we look at it, performance. That is how we evaluate now. First they look at it, learning and growth. Right. Under that, we look at it, percentage of employees trained in process improvement. To what extent have we developed our employees to improve our process? Right? So we do some survey. There are improvements. So learning improvements. Then you look at the process. So percentage of processes achieving targets. Right? So to what extent so we improve our processes, facilitate to achieve our targets. Right? We are using NTB's techniques, process. When you really look at it, I'm not going to compare banks to banks, but if you really look at it with NDB, and don't get upset with me, with the SOAP's mobile app, NTB is better than NDB. So why not NDB use that NTB's applications? Online banking applications, mobile apps, you can do any transaction while you're at home. You can see your balances. You can withdraw your money from home and convert to another account like that. When you're compared with these processes, then we look at the customer's point of view. So will our market share increase? because our customers are satisfied from the customer's point of view, because it is very important, because customers are the people who bring revenue to the organization. We look at it that aspects. Okay, and then we look at the last part is the financial, because our income grow, stock, our stock price has gone up, so we look at it. So all these 4 points are good. So what do you mean by that? That means, so your strategy is work. Okay, so we are using the balanced scorecard method, right? Okay, I hope you understood, right? Any questions on this, please? Any questions? Any questions? Right? No questions. Good. Right, now we move into the again the next part, right? Now I think you know what is KPIs, right? KPIs, key performance indicators. Now, how again, right? Balance scorecard is a KPI method. You look at it, successful of that strategy based on certain areas. Okay, now remember, if you want to establish good KPIs, you need to look at it. Sometimes the KPI for you to evaluate yourself. So what factors, what are the guidelines you can use for good KPIs, key performance indicators? First point, measure what is important. So we need to find out, measure what is important. Now say for example, as far as the shareholders are concerned, what is the important for them? Profits. So KPI must be a profitability. Return on assets, what is important for different groups. So align your matrix with your key stakeholders matrix. That means, so you need to align with your KPIs with stakeholders matrix. That means, what is your shareholders expecting? What is your government is expecting? What is your employees are expecting? What is your customers are expecting? Those are stakeholders who are interested about your organization. So these people must have some sort of a measurement to evaluate your organization. Right now, say from the customers. So they may look at it. We are socially responsible bank. Or pressure groups of interest parties. This bank's doing not cheating customers. Like that. Brand value. Return on investment for shareholders, for investors. And always we are concentrating on, remember, so your KPIs, we are trying to convert your qualitatives into quantitative. That is easily measurable. Qualitatives are good, but it will not feel it unless otherwise it's quantitative. Now say, somebody can say, so, mage, mama hari adri wat. That's a qualitative, you know. They go, oh, what? Abi pudi kala adde ke dikkala pendalo, no? Mecharai ke. So that means my level. How can we show your qualitative love for quantitative? That's an arguable things. Yeah, then the other party can say, okay, you are okay, but I won't feel it. So then how you have to provide it quantitatively. Make it feel it, your qualitative. Right? Okay. And also remember, good KPIs always have early warning systems. It tells you here, you are going in the wrong directions. So it had to be indicated before something in. That is why I call good KPI must have a early warning systems. Right. And also establish a common language. What do you mean by that? Everybody need to be understand. Otherwise, people are going to do, people are going to judge, you're going to practice, need to understand. Everybody is a common language. Say for an example, labh, profit. Everybody can understand. Very simple. Common language means that. Who's going to set, who's going to achieve, who's going to evaluate, need to understand very simply with the same level. And also you need to look at it some balance, right? So you have to have a balanced approach. What do you mean by that? Not certain areas may extreme, certain areas may be low. Very balanced approach. Everybody, but challenging. Remember, must be challenging. The last one, the important things, and it has to be aligned with strategy. KPI has to be linked to a strategy. Otherwise, how can you evaluate your strategy? Suppose if your KPI is not linked to your strategy, you don't know whether you achieve your profit because of the strategy or maybe something else. Right? Right? Because it's clearly aligned the matrix with the strategy. Your KPI has to be linked with strategy. That means, so without strategy, this KPI cannot be taken place. That has to be linked. We must have a positive correlations between strategy and KPIs. Otherwise, how can we judge our strategy, whether it's a good or bad? Right? So guidelines for establishing good KPIs is this. That no question asked yet, but examiner can ask from you. What next? Okay, any questions? Any questions for that? Somebody maybe, right? Any questions at this point? Guidelines for establishing good KPIs. Right? Okay. So, right, I will stop today at this point, right? And we will continue for next week. I'll give you another tune next week. Okay, now, can anybody want to clear a certain areas what we have learned, right? So what we have learned today, we discuss where are we want to be, the balance part, right? We start with the objectives and the functions of objective today, right? And then we discuss the policy. So that is the where we want to be. And then we discuss in a greater length where our organization present position. For that we need internal and external audit or analysis. We call them as situational or strategic analysis. So what are the techniques we use for that? To study internally, we have resource audit. Then we have a supply chain, value chain analysis. So techniques we use for that. And then we discuss about the other analysis called SWOT analysis, PESTEL analysis, and Michael Porter five forces analysis to see whether my present position. Having understood that, we very briefly discuss strategies. What is strategy? What are the type of strategies? But I just left that part for future studies, right? And then we discuss, having formulated the strategy, we need to implement the strategy in the real life situation. So for that, we need to find it out whether our strategy is working or not. For that, we need to evaluate. So we discuss the importance of evaluation. And also we discuss what are the problems we are facing with evaluation, our strategies. That's the most difficult part, but Development formulation is easy, all a book, but when you come to the implementation also is the problem. And then we are going to evaluate whether we are going in the correct directions or not, whether these our strategies give benefits to us or not. For that, we need to evaluate. So, what are the techniques we are used to evaluate the strategy? So, under that, we discuss one strategy or one evaluation method we call balance scorecard method, developed by Kaplan and Notes. And then further we discuss when you're going to set an KPIs, what are the factors we need to look at it? We can't just set the KPIs. We need to look at it. What are the areas we need to look at it when you're setting KPIs? What are the guidelines setting KPIs? Right? So the balance part we're going to discuss next week. What are the type of KPIs your organization is going to put it? Why it is important? Some examples of KPIs, and then we're going to discuss what are the human resource function, how it facilitate your setting your corporate plan, the budgeting, how it facilitate for your corporate plan, and also why we need to constantly review the strategic plan even though you prepared, and what are the problems you are going to face when you are developing strategic plan, so barriers. All things we are going to discuss next week, and then we come up with expansion strategy during 17th, today is 8th or 15th of October, August, right? So we have enough time. I hope you understood. Okay, so we stop today and we will continue from next week. The balance T2, and I'll send you a T3 also. Okay, hopefully you understood, right? No comments, no? Okay, the clear the තේරුණා. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්නෝනේ දැන් අර බණ කියනකොට හාමුදුරුවෝ ගාව ඉන්නෝනේ නේද හාමුදුරුවෝ ගාව එක්කෙනෙක්. ඒ හාමුදුරුවෝ ඇයි එහෙම කියන්නේ? නැත්නම් හාමුදුරුවෝ නිදිමත හැදෙනවා. හාමුදුරුවෝ ගාව ඉතින් කියන්න ඕනේ නේද? ඒ හාමුදුරුවෝ. එතකොට තමයි පොඩ්ඩක් අර හාමුදුරුවෝ පොඩ්ඩක් උනන්දු වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔය අහන් ඉන්නවද කියලා මම දන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ හින්දා ඔයගොල්ලෝ මට ඔකට සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ හූ මිටි තියන්න ඕනේ. You have to motivate me for you to tell more. Right? So please, therefore, put some chat. Yes, sir, understood, sir. Right. Okay. Thank you. Ticket. Yeah, very good. Okay. So then let me. So this is how I have developed for my other areas, right? So you also have to be actively involved with me, right? Then only you also learn. Okay. Right. So we will see you on next Saturday, same time. So you are going to be with me for the next 4 weeks or so. So then doctor is coming and do one more session, right? Okay. See you next week. Please go through your notes, then you will understand better. Thank you.